This is a Tracking the Tropics update with a certified most accurate weather team at First Coast News.
All right, let's talk about the tropics out here. Melissa, a Category 2 after, now just moving off of the coast of Cuba, heading towards the Bahamas. This after that record-breaking landfall in Jamaica. I am meteorologist Robert Spetta. We have our chief meteorologist, Lewis Turner, and also our meteorologist, Lee Southwick, right above me here. So thank you all for joining me here.
Thanks for the invite. Yeah, the Brady Bunch, sort of 1/3 Brady Bunch tic-tac-toe box here. And Spetta, I'm going to get to look up at you, and Lee, you can look right down at him. And that's save this for the screenshot for the Facebook page.
Yeah, there you go.
Telling you.
But I mean,
all seriousness.
We got the whole team in here because we are still tracking this storm. Mountains kind of did a little number on it out here.
Big time, and made its way through central Cuba. A lot of it happened pre-dawn hours. You know, a colleague of ours, Jeannie Blaylock, likes to put me on the spot with weather questions. And without any sort of warning, she likes to ask me something on TV. And she is very concerned, and I think it's a smart question. So I don't have a problem with it all. I think it's a very smart question. Is this going to hit at night, or is it going to hit while it's dark? And Jamaica, she asked the question: are the Jamaicans, are they going to be dealing with a 185-mile-an-hour hurricane in the dark? And fortunately, I mean, I know that's just an added layer of fear, but a lot of their impacts were morning and through the afternoon. Cuba was a little bit different because I think it was 2-3 a.m. As it's coming on shore, and so they're talking about pre-dawn, and now that we've got sun up, it's kind of emerging back out to sea. So we have to wait and see. So Cuba, as you probably know, one of those countries, other than Guantanamo Bay, tough to get a lot of information out of. You know what I mean? We don't have a lot of live cameras set up around Cuba. So getting to see some of those impacts is going to be tough through kind of the next 24, 48 hours as we wait and see what comes out of there.
I think one of the big things, so you can see it here in the satellite imagery as we loop through, is that the mountains of Cuba. So this had the deal. So you see right here, it makes that landfall in Jamaica, and as it moved over yesterday, it didn't. Yeah, there are hills in western Jamaica, but it wasn't over for a long period of time. You see the eye kind of collapse, and then watch as it just opens right back up here as it goes through the strait there, and then starts to head off towards Cuba, and that's why we had that second landfall. Still, look at that, just opens right up.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And it was a Cat 4, right? Here at that landfall in Cuba, just towards the west of Santiago de Cuba, and then the mountains of eastern Cuba are a lot higher, and that really has disrupted and kind of ripped this apart now.
Thank goodness. Now, though, with those mountains, they're still, although it's moving offshore, or off of Cuba towards the Bahamas, Cuba, like Jamaica, is still dealing with landslides, mudslides, that risk of flooding as that water comes rushing down the mountain.
And I think one of our issues is for the Bahamas, and I know you've been talking about this, Lee. The Bahamas, it's going to be probably more of a storm surge threat, right?
Right. I mean, you think about a lot of people have visited the Bahamas or flatter islands, and so the storm surge. And you know what? We just got the 11 o'clock advisory, and let me check really quick to see how much surge they're expecting. But that was the main thing, storm surge and the heavy rain, of course, leading to the risk of flash flooding as well. But while it was wind and rain for Jamaica, and then more of rain and of course the wind right at direct landfall in Cuba, now we're talking more surge risk for those in the Bahamas.
And I think also because the Bahamas is lacking of topographic features, really, right?
Right, so it's flat. And so that like water's just going to come up and
8-foot surge there is serious. Plus, they have a very shallow slope around it. Isn't that true, Lou? Like the slope.
Much shallower water it's about to go through as well as it kind of gets into those Bahamas island chains. And so a 5 to 8, last I saw was somewhere between 5 and 8 feet of surge for the Bahamas. And let's be specific.
4 to 7.
4 to 7. So let's be ultra specific as we talk about the Bahamas. So Bahamas obviously a very large chain of islands, and so we need to kind of really zero in on the fact that we're talking about the southeastern Bahamas. So Duncantown, Clarencetown, Snug Corner, Cockburntown, places I've never visited. I bet would be awesome to go one day. Just not right now, as you see those hurricane force sustained winds kind of splitting the difference between a few islands. So it would be kind of, because we've been talking about the amount of landfalls that this storm could make ultimately between Jamaica, Cuba, perhaps one or two islands of the Bahamas. So that would be two more. You're up to four, and then ultimately Bermuda. So a five landfall hurricane, or it's a situation where, I mean, if this thing just kind of splits the island and you don't get an official, now the impacts would still be the same, but it'd be interesting to see if you get another actual landfall within the Bahamas.
Yeah, and can we also really quickly take this live cam that I
Yeah, go for it.
So Malcolm, I am on source 4. If we could take that, I'm going to show you all a live look out at Nassau, Bahamas, which is where a lot of people have visited on cruise
Lovely.
ships. Nassau not going to be impacted, like you saw on the map, it's north of where that eye is going to be. So any sort of impacts, breezy conditions, maybe a bit of surge, but and rain occasionally, but not nearly the amount of impacts. And guys, I don't know about you, but yesterday I even had a friend text me saying, I'm going to the Bahamas on Monday. Am I in trouble? And if you're going to a place like Nassau, no, you're not in trouble, especially by Monday. This Melissa's going to be long gone, and they're not going to have those lasting impacts. Now, if you are going to the southern Bahamas, I would be concerned about damage. We'd have to wait and see how that goes. But guys, as you can see here, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
That water looks beautiful.
A little choppy, but
and cloudy. It's not the
Yeah.
prettiest of days, but again, like the Bimini, Nassau, those are really big tourist spots in the Bahamas. That's north, and we're talking about the southern Bahamas.
And maybe even cruise ships might still be going at it out there. I mean, as long as they stay west of this and kind of keep the wind on their tail,
Yeah, we've got, in fact, tomorrow I think is the maiden voyage of the new Norwegian ship that's based out of Jacksport.
already.
So they're doing that, not tomorrow, Friday. So I keep thinking today, because everybody was dressed up as costumes around First Coast News for our Halloween party. I don't know why I keep thinking today's Thursday, but it's Friday, Halloween day. The actual day is when they're going to sail, and I'm pretty sure it's a Nassau-style, cruise. So yeah, I think it should be just fine. Especially the cruise lanes they take. Generally, they hug the coast of Florida and then kind of zip over to Nassau, which generally a more protected island anyway, because it's kind of in from some other barrier Bahamas islands.
And it's right behind that Wednesday 8 p.m. Like that's how far north it is of the cone.
And then a lot of people have interests, around here. Big community that goes over from, say, West Palm to the Abacos, and so Marsh Harbor, Turtle Cay, those islands, fine. You're gonna be a-okay. Unlike with a storm like Dorian, for instance.
That was like Grand Bahama really got the impact from that one, right?
Got pummeled, and they were still rebuilding for a while after Dorian, even on some of those islands of the Abacos. But yeah, so impressive look. The 11 o'clock numbers are in, been in for a few minutes now, but if you haven't seen the latest as we level set with this Hurricane Melissa, we've seen all kind of the worst that Melissa had to offer as it made landfall near Treasure Beach in Jamaica. So
actually, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the impacts we've had thus far from this storm system?
Yeah, do we have that video loaded?
Yeah, let's take a look at some video we have out of. This is all out of Jamaica.
Yes, it's all Jamaica.
And yesterday we had that landfall. It made landfall with that pressure, of 892 millibars, 185 mile per hour winds. I believe.
Look at all of that damage.
This is Black River, from what I believe.
Just flattened.
So this was right in the right front quadrant where this came on shore. Lee, you kind of gathered some of this. Can you tell us a little bit about where these are? But, right front quadrant, basically, and this is a little bit of that storm surge right along the coast, that low-lying area. I think this was video out of Montego Bay right there.
Yeah,
you
it's
can
all
recognize.
a little mix around Jamaica, just to show, but...
This is obviously, I think that I've seen videos just like that out of Black River, Treasure Beach, right there on the southern coast. That would have put them right in the right front quadrant. And I mean, this is...
Look at that, just homes and structures absolutely destroyed, reduced to rubble. It's so sad to see, there too, obviously the trees down, the rain that came down. Look at those blowing winds. I mean, that's
This
scary.
is interesting because you saw that power surge there, and kind of in a lot of their power lines above ground in Jamaica. But from my understanding, the island had turned off all power ahead of time, kind of for the sake of avoiding fires. But you can see, maybe this is generator power that you're seeing on some of those buildings, and that's why this video in particular, I was watching that, I was like, oh, it kind of gave me chills to think those power lines precariously hanging over, but the power would be out and you wouldn't have current running through.
Wow.
But surge incredible, and the water flowing out of the mountains will be as well.
There are people where it made landfall too that we still haven't heard from. Like I think there's a lot worse to be seen.
Yesterday we were talking about some of the chasers out there, like Josh Morgan, who was in the out in. He still hasn't posted anything.
Yeah, it's been 24 hours. I was actually just looking at his account, and he hadn't posted in 23 hours. And his last post was at 10:25 yesterday morning. Frightening power, whiteout, roofs tearing off, gusts like bombs going off, painful ears. Praise the Lord for solid concrete. And he was measuring a 962 at his location. I think he was a little out, but nonetheless, there is concern, and you think, gosh, we haven't heard from him, and he posts all the time. The other flip side of that is probably just can't.
That I think
that's more like
9.9 out of 10. That's it. Like, look, this is a clear example. The infrastructure, the communications is down. Whoever sent this video out, they may have had a Starlink with them or something.
I heard that Starlink just got activated. Like, we're talking an hour or two ago.
And I think they made it free, right?
I think so. Yeah. So I think we're gonna start to get a lot more because of the Starlinks.
But this is just incredible video. Lou, I know you've been through a few storms. Anything remotely close to this?
No, nothing remotely close to this. The image that I saw of the car in the street that had water halfway up kind of gave me thoughts back to Ian and Nicole and St. Augustine. You think about that surge kind of rising. Again, totally not comparable as far as just pure intensity and strength and winds, but that's the image I was thinking. But one of the memories I have of that is a Jeep that had water halfway up the vehicle from surge coming up and over the seawall there. But no. So no, to answer your question, and I've been through a few what would be minor relative to anything like this, and so you try to learn. You want to follow a guy like Morgan. Like when you find yourself in in a professional scenario where we send reporters out to cover storms all the time, and so what kind of advice do you give? And I was talking to Dr. Rick Knabb yesterday during our stream from, he used to head the Hurricane Center, but now they're the Weather Channel's expert, they're hurricane expert. And I asked him, I was like, Weather Channel sends crews out to big bad storms across the country and across the world. I was like, what do you tell? And I hadn't had a chance to watch Weather Channel footage or coverage yet. I was like, so Rick, what are you telling crews that go into something like this? He goes, well, frankly, Weather Channel's not sending anybody into this. It's too dangerous. So the Weather Channel they weren't posting anybody in Jamaica. So really, it was just your chase, your kind of the traditional chasers that do it for their content and their individual pages, things like that, as opposed to the main media outlets. So that's another reason why getting content and seeing aftermath, though we are seeing it, but you're seeing it's from TikTok, it's from Twitter, it's from the different social media posts as opposed to other outlets. So we're gonna have to wait and see more.
But I think that's really smart of you, Lou, and this should reflect on anybody out of the state of Florida who says they've been through these type of storms. Use this as a lesson when we talk about real devastating hurricanes and the damage that can come from it. I guarantee most of the people watching this have not been through this type of stuff, and always, use this as an educational point, even despite this destruction with it, something to learn from here.
And I think when it comes to flooding and aftermath, like the folks who are in Western North Carolina with Helene might have some a relationship with what they're going to see, in Jamaica, and it might trigger some thoughts and feelings. And so certainly not the howling, powerful wind scenario, but they dealt with days of mountain flooding and interstates washing out and being remote and isolated, and people not able to get any good services to them for weeks, and things having to be helicoptered in. That's precisely what's going to be happening here. I know the United States is sending relief ships to the Caribbean. So there will be that kind of level. And I know like the question a lot of people would have is how can I help and what can I do, and many ways to give, and American Red Cross is one of those ways. But we've got information for you on our website. That's at firstcoastnews.com about how if you feel compelled, to provide relief. I know the number one thing that they generally ask for is cash money, at times like this, so they can kind of get those resources where they need to be. And they assess the greatest need and then go from there.
All right, so let's pull back my graphics here. Let's kind of get a move on. Not only talking about the storm itself, but some of the side effects that are going to come with it. And Lee, you're about to talk about this in a few minutes here. Mm-hmm. So can you tell me about, because I see these winds 20 to 30 miles per hour along the East Coast. So what's going on here as far as kind of the side effects for the southeastern coastline?
Yeah, okay, so as this pulls away from us, Robert, do you have that graphic that you made too that showed the path in the front?
This one?
Yes, let me look forward. Let me look at the screen. So Melissa is not impacting Florida. You've heard us say that, or not making landfall here. You've heard us say that a lot. So a cold front's moving through it tonight, actually. And so we might even get a few sprinkles here tonight, a few showers, not a washout. Those showers would be very brief. But as it moves away from us, we are having that front that helps push it away with the higher wind speeds, tighter pressure gradient. I think one thing that a lot of people are excited about, and we talked about this yesterday, Robert, it makes me feel bad to talk about the benefits that we've received from a hurricane that's just creating absolute destruction across portions of the Caribbean, but we do actually benefit from Melissa. Look at that. That's cooler air, drier air moving in and across our area. So the front moves through tonight. We like the fronts. They are defense. They push those hurricanes away from us. And then we reap the benefits of that. And so it's actually going to be much cooler tomorrow, waking up to temperatures in the 40s and 50s. And then in the afternoon, it's possible we could stay in the 60s all day. Even if you reach a high of 70 or 71, that's likely a brief amount of time. So just think more of your afternoon hours in the 60s on our Thursday. Friday morning, even chillier to start. And then in the afternoon, same story. A lot of us in the 60s for a good portion of the day. Trick-or-treating, we're falling through the 60s down into the 50s. So the kids might need some long sleeves with their Halloween costumes. Adults too, if you're staying out Halloween night, you might need that jacket depending on what time you're getting home. Saturday, we have a big game here in Jacksonville. But to start, look at that low of 41. So in the morning hours, upper 30s even for some of you inland. And if it's okay, can we pull up my graphics again on source 4? Because Lou Turner made this graphic. And so when you're talking about the 30s possible, it is possible we could have our first frost, maybe some patchy frost for places like Waycross, which is right on time, Lou, right?
Yeah.
November 1st, that's when we would potentially, around that time, get the first frost in places like Waycross. And look at these lows where we could be Saturday morning.
It really is amazing to say that a hurricane could help usher us into like 30-degree temperatures.
Frosty weather, yeah, absolutely.
That's what we see with these October, November, hurricanes that brush by. And I remember with Nicole, right after, it was October. We got kind of even later.
Mid-November.
November, yeah. And that pulled in some really cool air. 39 would be a little warm in Waycross to probably get frost. But, if we get a little bit cooler than that, of course, those temperature readings happen by 6-7 feet above the ground at the surface level. I mean, it's a little bit cooler, and cold air sinks. So certainly could happen. I would say, as you look at your tailgate forecast, something to warm the spirits early in the morning, if you know what I'm talking about. So something to warm the spirits.
World's largest cocktail party, right?
Right.
Or at least
unofficially. Yeah, sure. But up in Ware County, Pierce County, I'm not asking you to, it's not the time to say drag in the plants yet or cover them up, unless you've got like the world's most sensitive hibiscus planted up there. Maybe just take care of her. But we're getting close to that time of year. So just kind of those thoughts. It's 11:31. Lee, you've got to go do the noon. I know we've got a lot going on. We've kind of, we'll just wrap it up at that point. A great place to do it would be the Florida-Georgia game. We've talked Halloween. We've talked Melissa and getting into our big weekend. Robert, Lee, I'm Lou. Guys, thanks for having me. It's a great stream. And we'll see you again at noon.
Right.